nag-guest si Regal Oliva sa Basta Dabawenyo, hindi naman ganyan yung stand niya eh. Sabi nga niya, may problem doon sa pagka-aresto kasi dapat hinarap muna sa local court, si PRRD. Yun yung sinabi niya sa Basta Dabawenyo. Tapos bakit all of a sudden ganyan ka na? Bakit all of a sudden hindi ibigay na lang natin siya? Paano yung mga kina-question natin na legalities ng pagdala kay PRRD sa The Hague? Wala namang problema kung hindi tayo agree sa isa't isa. Ang problema dito kay Regal Oliva, bakit kailangan mo pang manloko sa mga stands mo, sa political stand mo? Okay lang na hindi tayo bate. Okay lang na hindi tayo parehas ng politics. But ang sobrang problematic dito kay Regal, bakit ka pa nanloko ng tao? 'Di ba? Nagpataas ka pa ng kamay kay PRRD. Nagpa-endorse ka pa sa kanya. Yun naman pala para sa'yo, matter of fact, na meron siyang mga dineprive ng due process at meron siyang kinalaman sa mga EJK. Kung yun naman pala ang paniniwala mo, ba't ka pa nagpataas ng kamay? 'Di ba? And this really goes against the entire online how the entire online persona of Regal Oliva was built. Kasi yung mga content niya, 'di ba? Pinipraise niya si Inday Sara, uma-align siya dun sa politika ng mga makaka-Duterte, 'di ba? Pina-agree mo kami ng pina-agree sa iyo eh. In-amplify mo yung politics namin eh. Pagkatapos at the end of the day, bigla kang bibira ng ganito na hindi ibigay na lang natin si Duterte sa ICC tas huwag natin questionin. When submission becomes strategy. Sinamahan pa yan ni VP Sara nung kampanya, Joa de Vive. Correct. So something is seriously wrong with you, Ateng. Nagpretend ka na Duterte supporter ka. Ngayon, yung mga pinagsasabi mo doon sa content mo about the appeal, it's really not about law. Hindi naman talaga yung tungkol sa batas. Hindi naman, you are actually amplifying yung narrative ng mga anti-Duterte. If you're going to listen to the content of Jam Magno, aligned yung content niya eh. Doon sa mga content nila Jam Magno, na, di ba si Jam Magno meron tong content, kayong mga kamag-anak ni PRRD, kayo ang may kasalanan kaya hindi na-approve ang kanyang... Regal Oliva is reinforcing that kind of narrative. It cannot escape us na merong agenda ito. Kasi doon sa content ni Oliva, ang sinasabi niya doon, yung mga kamag-anak kasi, question yung jurisdiction, syempre mababad trip yung court dyan. We know what you want to do. What you want to do is to divide the Duterte supporters. Okay? What you wanted to do is to divide the Duterte supporters by planting seed of doubt against Inday Sara. Diba? So ngayon, itong si Regal Oliva, nag-create siya ng content noong 2 days ago. Tapos, dun sa content niya, kulang na lang talaga sabihin niya na parang, guys, ibigay na natin si PRRD sa ICC and we should not contest it at all. Ganon. Yun yung sabi ni Regal Oliva. Pagkatapos, she received a lot of backlash doon sa kanyang stand, doon sa content niya. And she made it appear na hindi, I'm just being objective, ganyan-ganyan. So, ang pinapunto niya is, kaya raw, hindi na-approve ang interim release ni PRRD is because yung family members ni PRRD question ng jurisdiction ng ICC. Grabe si I don't think alam ni Regal Oliva yung mga naging diskarte ni Attorney Kaufman. The jurisdictional question ay hindi naman yan give up or it is a legal issue. It's one of the issues in PRRD's case. The family of PRRD had been very, very consistent dun sa legal issue na yan. Isa yan talaga sa mga kina-question. And it is not as if bawal mag-question ng jurisdiction. Valid yun. And for me, ito yung isa sa top na isa sa pinaka-problematic na position ni Regal. She made it appear as if masama mag-question ng jurisdiction. Pagka nag-question ka ng jurisdiction, di mo makukuha ang gusto mo. Ganyan. And of course, yung choices of words niya dun sa, sa kanyang content. Grabe talaga. And if you have read the post of Teddy Adarna about it, it's so on point na binalot ni Regal Oliva yung kanyang POV na, maybe knowingly or unknowingly is wrapped within the Western mindset. Kasi ina-espouse niya kung ano yung gusto ng ICC na tingin ng mundo sa sarili niya eh. 'Di ba? Na I am the bastion of truth and justice, ganyan. 'Di ba? Ganun yung niya, ganun yung dating ni, ganun yung pagkakasabi ni Regal na alam nyo, ang korting ito which is very meticulous, very fair, very, 'di ba? Dapat mag-trust tayo sa ICC. Nung nag-guest si Regal Oliva sa Basta Dabawenyo, hindi naman ganyan yung stand niya Sabi nga niya, may problem doon sa pagka-aresto kasi dapat hinarap muna sa local court, si PRRD. Yun yung sinabi niya sa Basta Dabawenyo. Tapos bakit all of a sudden ganyan ka na? Bakit all of a sudden hindi ibigay na lang natin siya? Paano yung mga kina-question natin na legalities ng pagdala kay PRRD sa The Hague? Up until now, madam, okay? Up until now, hindi pa po confirmed ang charges kay PRRD. 7 months, going 8 months. Wala pang confirmed charges kay PRRD, pero nakadetain na siya. And you want us to trust ICC na gagawin niya ang tama, magiging fair siya? 7 months! Saka lang nag-decide ang ICC na yes, merong conflict of interest with Karim Khan. You want us to trust to, You want us to trust on ICC na gagawin nila ang tama? And you want the possible legal defenses by PRRD to be forgotten, like the question on jurisdiction? 'Di ba? Nakakaloka talaga si Akla. And then, meron siyang post na nakikipagsagutan siya doon sa isang nagko-comment na disagree sa kanya. And this is actually very, very disturbing sa akin na parang, tangina, ibang-iba ka na, Bex, diba? Iba na ang iyong ngiti, diba? Ayan. Sabi niya, thank you for your thoughtful rejoinder, Mr. Broker. You speak of sovereignty with the reverence it deserves. As a nation's core, not just a constitutional word. Actually, sovereignty is beyond constitution, no? It is beyond constitution. Yung soberanya, ito ay isang konsepto na nag-exist outside constitution. But anyway, not just as a constitutional word. I agree that justice when imposed without sensitivity to national pride risks breeding resentment instead of reform. Yet what I assert is this, sovereignty does not mean isolation. When the mechanisms of domestic accountability fail or appear selective, international law becomes the last refuge of those who have no choice. So, Regal Oliva is giving premium to ICC. And she agrees that wala na tayong choice dito sa Pilipinas. She agrees na the justice mechanism here in the Philippines already failed. It was easy for her to give up that aspect of our sovereignty. Na hindi wala na tayong magagawa dito sa Pilipinas. So therefore, okay lang yan na pumunta na tayo sa ICC. The ICC with all its imperfections steps in where the state refuses to tread. That may sting our pride, yes, but pride never acquitted anyone before the bar of conscience. This is what I cannot understand. For a lawyer like Regal Oliva, yung oath ng lawyer, you swore before the Constitution that you are going to defend and protect the Constitution. And for Regal Oliva, it's easy to accept that our Constitution is not enough to address injustices. That we can just go ahead and accept yung ICC as the one to dispose justice for us. You say standing firm can also be a strategy, and I agree, it's grounded on truth, not denial. If it's grounded on truth, not denial, what are you denying? Diba, naniniwala na siya na justice system here in the Philippines is not working, so therefore, punta na tayo sa ICC. And they are really paving a way na na every time na magkakaroon ng parang hindi na prosecute for some reason dahil tinatamad yung kung sinong gusto mag-prosecute ng mga kaso, punta na tayo sa ICC. They are actually creating a very different path pagdating sa pag-seek ng justice dito. And I don't think it is something that is in accordance with our Constitution, madam. Kasi lahat naman ng mga exercise in order to achieve justice, dapat i-comply mo kung ano sinasabi ng Constitution natin. 'Di ba? Standing tall before the world should mean proving that our system can work, that we are not afraid of scrutiny because our laws already deliver justice. But if standing firm means shielding impunity behind the veil of sovereignty, then that stance ceases to be patriotic. Grabe, no? Shielding impunity behind veil of sovereignty. You did not prosecute here in the Philippines. You can prosecute but you did not do it. Fault yun ng mga anti-Duterte. Nobody stopped anyone na i-prosecute si PRRD dito sa Pilipinas. Hindi nyo ginawa. It's not the failure of justice. It's the failure of standing up for your belief. Hindi nyo tinayuan yung paniniwala ninyo na kriminal si PRRD. Diba? Hindi yan fault ng justice system. Fault yun ng katamaran ninyo. The challenge, as you rightly said, is discernment, knowing when to bow and when to rise. I wish only leaders would know the difference. When to bow and when to rise. So talagang option talaga sa kanya ang tumuwad. Pag ginawa mo ng option ang pagtuwad, Bex, if it is something that you can see na pwedeng gawin ng mga Pilipino, ikaw yung hindi patriotic. Dali lang pala sa yung tumuwad So ibig sabihin sa'yo, sa instance na to, tuwad ka na lang. Tutuwad ka na lang sa mga sa ICC. 'Di ba? Kaya ang ganda nung ang ganda nung write-up ni Teddy Adarna dyan. Sabi ni Teddy Adarna, teka, basahin ko lang yung part dun sa sinabi niya na Ayan, sabi niya, you are not neutral, Regal Oliva. You are not neutral. You are empire's echo in Filipino accent. You are the mouthpiece of Western morality disguised as legal insight. You are what colonizers dream of, a local who will defend their chains as ornaments of reason. You call it law, I call it theater. The ICC is a Broadway for broken nation, a spectacle of scripted virtue when the brown man plays the villain and the white man directs the tragedy. And you are their star actress, their obedient dog, performing objectivity for applause, monologuing about rule of law while your own nation bleeds from the blade of Western manipulation. You stand there radiant in righteousness while the audience claps, London, Washington, Brussels, and whisper, good girl, she still knows who her masters are. Ganda, no? Galing, no? Ganda nitong latigo ni History will not remember your objectivity. It will remain your posture, bent, graceful, obedient, and grotesque. As the nation you claim to serve, gasp for air beneath another imported morality. Ganda. I think yung pinaka-surgical na analysis tungkol doon sa content ni Regal Oliva is the analysis of attorney Anthony Ludal Vivista. Sobrang ganda. Sobrang ganda. Very, very surgical. Talagang inisa-isa niya. Sobrang inisa-isa niya. Eto na nga. Basahin ko for you guys Sabi niya, Attorney Regal Oliva's recent video. By the way, si Attorney Vista, 12 years in practice sa batas, sa law, dito sa Pilipinas. Pero I think now he's living abroad Nagpa-practice na rin siya doon. So, sabi ni Attorney Vista, Attorney Regal Oliva's recent video has drawn strong reaction across social media. In it, she declares that former President Rodrigo Duterte's appearance before the International Criminal Court is no longer about politics but about law. That justice has finally come full circle and that the man who once wielded fear must not bow before the rule of law. Actually, nakakadiri yung part na yan yung part na yan na sinasabi ni Regal. Kasi kumbaga, ni-normalize niya na yung kidnapping. Kumbaga, inaano niya dito na parang, ay sorry, PRRD, wala ka ng choice. 'Di ba? Wala ka ng choice. Pagdating dyan, kung paano ka ititreat ng ICC, tanggapin mo na lang. 'Di ba? And she excluded, Regal Oliva excluded yung very, very right ni PRRD to question the jurisdiction of ICC on him. Including that. Bow before the rule of law of ICC? Okay ka lang? 'Di ba? Actually, hindi naman defiant si PRRD sa ICC. Hindi rin naman defiant sila Inday Sara sa ICC. Sa totoong buhay. It's just that, yun talaga yung stand. Kino-question talaga yung jurisdiction ng ICC on PRRD. And that is within their right to question. Para namang si Attorney Regal naman, para namang di mo alam na pwedeng mag-question ng jurisdiction. It's really part of the person's... Kasi, sa kahit anong tribunal na magta-try sa'yo, kailangan mong i-question talaga whether or not may karapatan ba ang tribunal na ito na i-try ka. 'Di ba? The rhetoric is steering but emotion is not law. When law loses its foundation in fairness and jurisdiction, it becomes weapon, not a remedy. That's precisely is what many Filipinos now see in the ICC's handling the Duterte case. This rebuttal does not defend personalities. It defends the principle that justice must be lawful to be just. The frustration of the Filipino people is not born out of blind loyalty but out of reason, experience, and the painful realization that a court once built on ideals now acts with double standards. Law cannot begin with an illegal arrest. Attorney Oliva says that it is now a matter of law, yet the law cannot begin with illegality. Duterte's arrest in March 2025 under an ICC warrant was carried out without the proper authority of Philippine courts and without respect for national sovereignty. And Regal Oliva, believe in this. Nung pumunta ka sa basta Davaoenyo, naniniwala ka dito sa premise na ito. Diba? Ayun, my gosh, Joa de Vive, I chose to listen to you while driving cause doing so feels like talking to a friend na kainuman ko sa kanto. Nakakagising ka, so my 13 years old was with me on the drive at kino-question niya kung tama bang pinakikinggan ko mga live mo. Bakit ka kasi nag-i-English na straight around 1:11? Oy, mayroon ba talaga Tagalogin mo? Hindi convinced ako about politics na pinakikinggan ko now. Sabi niya, well, little girl, you have to broaden your horizons. So anyway, yun na. Ito rin yung pinaniniwalaan ni Regal noon. Nung nag-guest siya sa Basta Davaoenyo kasama si Mayor Baste. Even neutral observers question the legality of the transfer to The Hague. The ICC, who claims to champion human rights, cannot ignore due process at the threshold. The maxim mali captus bene detentus, badly captured, properly detained, has no place in court that claims moral legitimacy. If the arrest itself is unlawful, everything built on it is tainted. Justice cannot grow out of illegality. Jurisdiction is not moral authority. True! Oliva praises ICC's rule of law, but the core issue is jurisdiction, not virtue. The Philippines withdrew from the Rome Statute March 2019, a sovereign act that ended the country's consent to ICC authority. Yet, the ICC insists on investigating alleged crimes between 2011 and 2019, invoking the debatable interpretation of Article 127. Two judges in the 2023 Appeals Chamber dissented, warning that continuing an investigation after withdrawal violates both the statute and the state sovereignty. The majority ignore them. To Filipinos, this persistence looks less like courage and more like arrogance. A belief that Western legal institution may override the decision of smaller nations. The ICC's moral authority vanishes when it tramples the very sovereignty that gives law its legitimacy. Human rights begin with human dignity. Oliva describes ICC as a court that listens patiently and lawfully. Is it? But when Duterte collapsed in his cell in September 2025, neither his counsel nor his family was informed immediately. His lawyer Nicholas Kaufman learned of the incident from the media reports, not from the court itself. This is not patience. It is neglect disguised as procedure. Human rights begin with human dignity, and the ICC failed that test. A tribunal that prides itself on fairness cannot treat a detainee's life as a news item. When a man collapses under its custody, silence is not neutrality, it is cruelty. And cruelty can never be rule of law. And this is something that Regal Oliva forgot, ano? Diba? Ba't mo nakalimutan yan? Tapos, yung kanyang kembot sa ICC, puring-puri. 'Di ba? Na yung rule of law ng ICC is patient, it listens carefully, mga ganun. Talaga ba? Again, yun ngang pag-disqualify kay Karim Khan. 7 months after the detention of PRRD. That in itself is questionable. Hindi niyo nakita hindi mo nakita yung conflict of interest na yan at the onset? It should have been resolved noong unang-una pa lang. What took you 7 months to decide on the conflict of interest? Transparency for some, secrecy for others. Oliva asserts that ICC acts meticulously and lawfully. Yet it allowed consular visit by Philippine officials to Duterte on September 25 without notifying his family or legal team. The court justifies this by claiming that the visit had detainee consent, yet no proof was given. Ironically, the ICC that disregards the Philippines' withdrawal to claim jurisdiction suddenly welcomes Philippine involvement when it suits convenience. This double standard is glaring. It undermines trust and feeds the suspicion of the ICC applies one standard to the weak and another to itself. Law cannot demand transparency from nations while hiding beyond technicalities when challenged. Justice delayed is justice denied. Oliva says Duterte is finally answerable to law. Yet 6 months after his arrest, there was still no confirmation hearing. His case has been repeatedly postponed under vague reasons of health. This delay is not compassion, it is coercion through time. The longer a frail man remains detained without trial, the more justice looks like punishment. This delay is not compassion, it is coercion through time. And this is what we're talking about, no? Even before. Attorney Vista put it so eloquently eh. Pero sa amin, ang ibig sabihin lang nito, the more na ginagamit nyo yung procedure against PRRD, you find the flimsiest reason to keep PRRD in detention, that defeats the man. Yung 1 week sa isang 80-year-old, yung 1 month sa isang 80 years old, forever yun para sa kanya. You are depriving the man of his golden years that is supposed to be spent with his family. Attorney Vista put it so eloquently eh. Sinabi niya, ayan, it's coercion through time. Correct. Yung pag-delay-delay nyo ng proseso na yan, you are basically punishing an 80-year-old guy. If the ICC truly stands for law, it must proceed swiftly and fairly. Detention without progress is not justice. It is slow motion persecution. 6th point. Selective justice is not justice. Oliva's most quoted line, the man who built power on fear must now rely on rule of law. Sounds poetic, but selective justice is not justice at all. The ICC acts boldly against Asian and African leaders yet retreats when confronted by Western power. When the court tried to investigate U.S. actions in Afghanistan, Washington retaliated with sanctions. On February 6, 2025, former U.S. President Donald Trump reinstated Executive Order 14203, freezing assets and banning visas of ICC personnel who pursued cases against Americans. The court backed down. The ICC cannot even summon the courage to apply the same standard to powerful states. Then its supposed rule of law is mere rhetoric. Justice that bows to strong and bullies the weak is not justice. It is colonialism in robes. But again, Regal Oliva, bilib na bilib, tutuwad sa ICC. The Filipino view of justice, Oliva's narrative suggests moral triumph, but to many Filipinos, the ICC has become a symbol of injustice wrapped in foreign respectability. They see an illegal arrest dressed up as lawful custody, a foreign court overruling national sovereignty, a detained elder denied timely and medical and procedural rights, and delays and double standards that erode faith in fairness. Filipinos are not rejecting justice, they are rejecting hypocrisy. They ask for equality before the law, not submission to global hierarchy that punishes only the powerless. Justice is not spectacle. It is a process grounded in fairness, dignity, and truth. And by those measures, the ICC failed. 8th point, death without trial, the prejudice before the judgment. In her video, Attorney Regal Oliva asserted that when his legacy is marked by death without trial, the court may find it difficult to grant him the benefit of the doubt. That sentence may sound profound, but it betrays misunderstanding of both fact and law. No Philippine or international court has ever found Rodrigo Duterte criminally liable for ordering or tolerating unlawful killing. The deaths without trial she speaks of remain allegation, not verdict. And I think this is sampal to your lawyering abilities, Regal Oliva. Nasampal ka dito ng bonggang-bongga ni Attorney Vista sa totoo lang. A lawyer should know that the presumption of innocence is not a courtesy, it is a right. To imply that ICC may deny Duterte the benefit of the doubt because of public perception is to justify prejudice. It means guilt by narrative. Something the rule of law exists precisely to prevent. Nakalimutan. ni Regal Oliva yung very, very fundamental right ng isang tao na innocent until proven guilty. Diba? Justice demands distance from emotion. Allegations must be proven, not presumed. When the law begins by assuming it, it ceases to be law and becomes revenge disguised as virtue. Ganda, no? Kung ako kay Regal Oliva, maiinsulto talaga ako dito. Bex, kina-question na yung pagka-ano mo dyan. Bilang abogado, dapat alam mo yan. Yun yung sinasabi ni Attorney Vista dito, diba? Siyempre, he said it in a very nice way, in a very eloquent way. Pero yun. Dapat alam mo yun, Bax. Diba? The law does not forget either. Oliva ends with conviction. The law does not fear, nor does not tire, and does not forget. Indeed, but the law must also not discriminate, not delay, and not dehumanize. The Filipino are not afraid of law. They simply demand that law be lawful. If the ICC truly stands for justice, it must remember that fairness, not power, is what gives law its moral force. Otherwise, the court will not be remembered as the guardians of human rights, but as the tribunal that taught nations to distrust the very justice it claimed to uphold. Sobrang surgical nung analysis na yun ni Attorney Vista. No? Ang sa akin kasi, wala namang problema kung hindi tayo agree sa isa't isa. Ang problema dito kay Regal Oliva, bakit kailangan mo pang manloko sa mga stands mo, sa political stand mo? Okay lang na hindi tayo bate. Okay lang na hindi tayo, okay lang na hindi tayo parehas ng politics. But, ang sobrang problematic dito kay Regal, bakit ka pa nanloko ng tao? 'Di ba? Nagpataas ka pa ng kamay kay PRRD. Nagpa-endorse ka pa sa kanya. Yun naman pala para sa'yo, matter of fact, na meron siya mga dineprive ng due process at meron siyang kinalaman sa mga EJK. Kung yun naman pala ang paniniwala mo, ba't ka pa nagpataas ng kamay? 'Di ba? And this really goes against the entire online how the entire online persona of Regal Oliva was built. Kasi yung mga content niya, 'di ba? Pinipraise niya si Inday Sara, uma-align siya dun sa politika ng mga makaka-Duterte, 'di ba? Pina-agree mo kami ng pina-agree sa iyo In-amplify mo yung politics namin 'di ba? In-amplify mo yung politics namin. Nagpa-agree ka na nagpa-agree, ganyan-ganyan. Pagkatapos at the end of the day, bigla kang bibira ng ganito na hindi, ibigay na lang natin si Duterte sa ICC tas huwag natin questionin. When submission becomes strategy. Sinamahan pa yan ni VP Sara nung kampanya, Jody Viv. Correct. So something is seriously wrong with you, Ateng. 'Di ba? Something is seriously wrong with you. It looks like ginamit mo ang Duterte support base for your own interest. Nagpa-endorse ka pa kay PRRD, nagpuri-puri ka pa kay Inday, nag-agree-agree ka sa mga posisyon ng mga Duterte supporters. Yung pala, you just want to get following from us. 'Di ba? Ito yung lagi kong ine-explain doon sa mga anti-Duterte at doon sa mga tao sa ibang political groups. Ang mga Duterte supporters are the most reasonable political group. Kahit hindi agree ang mga Duterte, kapag kunwari merong mga sinasabi ng mga bagay na ka-agree-agree, anyone, kahit sino, kaya namin mag-agree. Tama siya, oo, ganyan, may point, may ganun. Hindi kailangan ng mga Duterte supporters na maging Duterte supporter ka muna bago kami mag-agree sa'yo. Ang requirement lang ng mga Duterte supporters is that you become reasonable. Kaya nga sabi ko si Regal, dapat, kung hindi naman pala talaga siya supportive sa cause ni PRRD, nagpakatotoo ka na lang, Bex. Ginamit mo pa kami. Nagpa-agree sa amin 'Di ba? Ginamit yung clout ng mga Duterte supporters. Pagkatapos yung pala, willing ka lang palang ipamigay si PRRD sa foreign jurisdiction. So, Madam, hindi ka kino-call out simply because we disagree doon sa... Kasi sa totoo lang, kung consistent ka naman doon sa position mo, ever since, kung consistent ka doon sa position mo, maintindihan ka namin ganyan ka naman talaga, anti-Duterte ka, anong gagawin natin? Pink ka naman talaga, di ba? Kaso hindi, nagpretend ka na Duterte supporter ka. Ngayon, yung mga pinagsasabi mo doon sa content mo about the appeal, it's really not about law. Hindi naman talaga yung tungkol sa batas. You are actually amplifying yung narrative ng mga anti-Duterte. If you're going to listen to the content of Jam Magno, aligned yung content niya eh. Doon sa mga content nila Jam Magno, na, di ba si Jam Magno meron tong content, kayong mga kamag-anak ni PRRD, kayo ang may kasalanan, kaya hindi na-approve ang kanyang... Regal Oliva is reinforcing that kind of narrative. It cannot escape us na merong agenda ito. Kasi doon sa content ni Oliva, ang sinasabi niya doon, yung mga kamag-anak kasi, question yung jurisdiction, syempre mababad trip yung court dyan. We know what you want to do. What you want to do is to divide the Duterte supporters. Okay? What you wanted to do is to divide the Duterte supporters by planting seed of doubt against Inday Sara. Diba?